Oh, this is in the middle now.
Because they're having a thing tomorrow.
Oh, that I'm just wondering what is
They have
different.
Open house tomorrow, Swamini.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Yes.
Somewhere they had mentioned it. Somehow they read. Ah, you couldn't find anything bigger, huh? Look at this. Look at this. So huge.
Auntie Shivani wanted me to tell you that she couldn't be here because she's ill today.
Okay. I'm happy you could make it.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
of you
I'm
that are here, I'm glad you could make it.
I'm sorry about last night when
Yeah, what
I was
happened?
confused. I didn't
I kept waiting for you and then you left and then didn't come back.
I didn't know what I was doing. I was double booked.
Oh, okay, no problem. Are we on?
Yes.
Okay. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Let's do a little meditation. We can perhaps shut this light off, turn this light off. Yeah, that's nice. Taking the time to arrive. Physically, mentally, nowhere to go, nothing to do. Time to gather the attention. Time to let things go that cannot be altered. I surrender what cannot be altered at the altar. A time to be with myself. A holy time, precious. A time to invite the inner silence that is hidden in and through the worries, fears, the constant thought stream and mental conversations. It's a silence that can comfort me, that can embrace and soothe away all fears. Insecurities. It's the silence of Om. Before Om, there is silence. After Om, there is silence. So too all thoughts coming from silence, resolving into that silence. It's a place of neutrality. A place to begin with a clean slate. A place to erase wrong starts at the beginning of the day. This is my reset button. From which I can emerge energized, free of afflictions, pains, sorrows and fears. Safe and free. This is the truth of Atma, the Self. This is myself. Pure and free. Holy and unbound. Unchanging, sentient consciousness I am. Chidanandarupa Shivoham, Shivoham. Of the nature of Chit, I am. nowhere to go, nothing to achieve. Nothing to protect, nothing to defend. I just am. I am free. I am whole. I am pure. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Can you close the door, please? Is the volume okay on that?
I think so.
Yeah? Because it's so far. The computer can be brought closer?
The camera.
The camera has the volume.
Yeah, camera has the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then it's all right. Verse number 12. I think we stopped at 13, but we will start from 12 just to brush up the brain cells. 4 weeks is a long time, you know? Yeah, those little tiny little brain cells. Need a little brush up. Navarnashrama sanketaihi.
Navarnashrama sanketaihi.
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 Navarnashrama sanketaihi.
Navarnashrama sanketaihi.
Na karmopasanadibhihi.
Nakarmopasanadibihi.
Brahmajnanam vina mokshaha.
Brahmajnanam vina moksha.
What do we say together?
Iti
Vedanta Dindima. Asatya sarva samsaraha.
Asatya sarva samsaraha.
Rasabhasadi dushitaha.
Rasabhasadi dushitaha.
Upekshyo brahma vigneyam.
Upeksho brahma vigneyam. Iti Vedanta Dindimaha.
Vritha kriya vritha lapam.
Vritha kriya vritha lapan.
Vritha vadan manorathan.
Vritha vadan manorathan.
Again, vritha kriya vritha lapam.
Vritha kriya vritha lapan.
Vritha vadan manorathan. Vritha vadan manorathan. Tyaktvaikam brahma vigneyam. Tyaktvaikam brahma vigneyam. Again. Tyaktvaikam brahma vigneyam. Tyaktvaikam brahma vigneyam.
Tyaktvaikam brahma vigneyam.
Iti Vedanta Dindima. So he is taking a little break from this double speak. What is this double speak? there are two things in the world and one is Sat and another is Asat. Guess which one you will choose, which one binds, which one liberates, which one you should have, which one you should not have. He's taking a little break from that. So he talked about how, there is a certain way in which the mind is very clever, sneaky, yeah. Because sooner or later, what is the job of the mind? To have doubts, thoughts. And it does its job. What is the job? To have thoughts. And the thoughts sooner or later will manifest in the form of, always there is a duality. Is it this or is it that? First it is with regard to so-called innocuous things in life. Should I have this or that to eat? Say innocuous doubt. It doesn't matter. Unless one of the choices is donuts. Okay, then maybe it matters. Samosas or donuts. But otherwise it doesn't matter what you have to eat or whether you should go for a walk here or there. It doesn't matter. Why should it matter? But then slowly those doubts start to afflict the mind, or rather affect the mind in larger and larger ways. Because those doubts and those thoughts come from unresolved past. Really, it's all about the unresolved things, really. So they come from the unresolved issues of the past, whether this past, remote past, past life, doesn't matter. And sooner or later, if one is this is one of the, what should I say? This is one of the avantara phalam, means an unexpected result of being a very good student. Yeah. And what is the unexpected result of being a very good student? Who can tell? More doubts. Why? Because one desperately wants to commit and dedicate, and one sees the truth of all this. But then the sooner than one starts seeing the truth of all this, one is assailed by a plane load of doubt. Yeah. We are hearing so many things about planes recently. Now the latest trend is for the seats to come loose. Yeah. Did you hear that? Yeah. Same airline. First it was row number 12, then it was some other row. They are happily flying, and as soon as everybody is seated, belted, if you are belted in the seat and the seat itself moves, not good news, okay? Yeah. So then they announce the takeoff, and this is all, metaphorical. Think of takeoff into the knowledge, okay? So you're taking off into the knowledge, yeah. Of what? Advaita Airlines, AA. And you're taking off, and then your whole seat comes loose. What is that made the seat loose? Yeah, doubts. That's what it is. That the very thing I'm sitting on is shaken up so badly that I don't know what to do. Can't get off because it's already in the air. Too late to get off. And so therefore what? And then the plane has to take a detour. The whole life is about this detour if these doubts are not resolved. So the last few times we have seen these doubts, I think let's look where these things started. I'll give you a better idea of since which verse. From 11 to 13, we have seen how this particular doubt has been consistently dealt with. We've already seen this. I'm just revising what we have already seen. And what have we seen? We have seen this, that the doubts that come up always have to do with the fact, am I doing the correct thing? Is this how the teaching has to proceed? There is something wrong because these doubts are coming up, because something is happening. And then along with that doubt, there is another feeling. And what is that feeling? Why should it be so hard to get this knowledge? It's not hard, but this is the mind talking. Isn't there any other way?
Meaning, if I suddenly find myself transposed somewhere else, can't I just, intuit Vedanta? Can't I just intuit this knowledge? Can't I just stumble upon this knowledge? Hello, intuitor is the one who has to be known. The stumbler is the Atma, the self that has to be known. Can't I just get this knowledge by any which way except study, teacher, teaching, etc.? If I let go of this package deal, perhaps I can meditate my way into moksha. Double chin mudra, see? One is not enough. Maybe I can meditate my way into moksha. Yes, meditation is what? Is it karma or not? Is it action or not?
Yes.
It's an action. So action and knowledge, we have already seen, are like oil and water. They don't look good together, they don't go together. Except perhaps in salad dressing maybe. Still they don't mix. And so therefore the action does not lead to knowledge, because knowledge is not an action. This is something we have to really, really understand once and for all. Knowledge and action knowledge is not an action. If I say, look at this flower, it's not an action. To know this, to see this flower, the seeing of this flower is not an action. Because if it is an action, then you have the choice. If I say, please look at my face, but don't look at this flower, what choice do you have? If the eyes are working and if you are able to see the flower, cannot but, the sight of the flower has to take place. So knowledge is not an action. Otherwise there are so many things that you come to know you wish you did not know. If it were a choice, you could have just kept all those things, away from you, but that doesn't happen. So the knowledge is because the ignorance of the self is also not an action, it just is. It has to be removed, the ignorance of the self has to be removed by self-knowledge. And so for the person who says, I am a yogi, maybe I am exempt from this knowledge. Yogi also has to get this knowledge, whether you are karma yogi or asana type yogi, or you are yogi bear, you have to get this knowledge. Yeah, you have to bear with this knowledge. Oh, but I am not a yogi, I am a bhogi. Can I eat my way to moksha? No. There is a restaurant called Moksha in India. Maybe you can go eat there, but you cannot eat your way to moksha. Oh, I am a rogi. Rogi means sicky. I am sick. When? From past life I have been sick. Maybe I can have an exemption because I am sick. Maybe I can get moksha because I have been sick so long. Bhagavan will have pity on me and give me moksha. Not without the knowledge. Oh, maybe I am, a married person. Varnashrama Sanketa. Varnashrama means various different stages of life. I am a married person. Verse number 12. So perhaps I can't, I can get moksha just because I am married. You can get moksha from the marriage. You can perhaps get moksha because of the marriage, you can qualify for moksha. But you will not, marriage is not going to give you moksha, correct? And then what else? Na karma upasana bhihi. But I do a lot of meditation. Again, doing does not lead to moksha. This has to be very clear. We have talked about this last again. And he says, without Brahma Jnanam, no moksha is there. And then he concludes this section in verse 13. The section is not yet concluded. Few more verses are there. But he concludes it, for last time we concluded at this, asatyaha sarva samsara. So this whole thing called samsara with which one is preoccupied is what? Asat. Asat means what? Not non-existent here. Asat also means non-existent. Mithya. What is mithya? Like even this flower. What is this flower? Flower. Yeah, but where is this the flower? No, that's petal. Is this the flower? No, that's stem. Oh, is this the flower? No, that's the pollen and the stamen and everything. Is this the flower? No, that's the hip of the rose. That's why it's called rose hip. It's really called rose hip. They dry this and they make tea. It's very good. Yeah. It has only one hip. Yeah. Per rose. So, this is not the flower. That is not the flower. That is not the flower. That is not the flower. No. All of it put together is the flower. This put together business is called mithya. Because can you put it together? No, if it's put together, anybody should be able to put it together. So the flower, when we say this object called flower, resolves really into the knowledge of the flower, correct? This is flower, I know. How? Don't ask. This is flower. I know. I know that this is flower. And so therefore what? This is what is called asat. And the whole thing, whether we are talking of this flower or this flower, we don't have any answers to the questions are not there. We don't know. So many things we don't know. And supposing if we take this flower, big flower, you can't find something bigger than this. Big flower, huge. And then if we have to ask a question. Why is this big and this small? You can just shrug the shoulders if you're in the United States. That's an American way of, teenage way. For every question you ask, they'll go like this. What does it mean? Whatever? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know and I don't care to know. Go away. Yeah. So this is, so then why is this orange and why is this yellow? Again a big shrug, correct? There are so many things we don't know, and the things that we don't know is what? More than the things that we don't know. Human knowledge is only up to one more question. That's all we have to say. There's only one more question you ask and then you don't know. Why the petals are shaped like this? Don't know. Why this has so many more petals and that has so fewer petals? Don't know. This is asat, this is mithya. Mithya means the origin of it is elsewhere. So what is flower? In other words, that which has flowerness is flower, correct? That could be our working definition. So where is the flowerness? Is it in the flower? Or is it outside the flower? Huh? Kutra asti? You cannot say in the flower because we already defined it, that which has flowerness. So what is that? Brahman. Really. So by a strange logic, the flowerness is outside the flower. That which gives the flower flowerness, that is the sat. Flower is asat. Asat means mithya here, dependent reality. And so therefore what? Yeah, flower and pot are not properly sized. There we go. So, so then we have this whole thing, asat, this whole samsara. The samsara means this entire jagat is filled with things that are not explainable. Up to a point you can explain. Otherwise you will keep on going and going and going and going. Like an energizer battery, keep going, keep thinking, and then you don't arrive at any conclusions. Every conclusion is just a waiting confusion. That's all it is. Then you have a little more research, and then what happens? Little more conclusions. They are again tentative. Like black holes. Now they are saying that the black hole also is emitting light. Before they thought that which doesn't emit anything is black hole. Now they are revising. No, there is still some things coming out of it. Very fascinating, the whole thing. So you have to keep revising it. And how long you will revise and who is the reviser, this is what we are going to study today. Because the one who revises is the one that is free of all revisions. So this is this, that. Then so if I know this already, that the one who revises is free of being subject to any revisions, then what should I do? Is explained in verse number 14. Vritha kriya. Vritha means what? Useless, of no benefit. Vritha means of no benefit is what? Kriya. Kriya means actions. Actions are of no benefit. It's a little bit of an extreme verse. We'll translate it and then we'll explain what it means. And then what? Vritha alapan. Alapan means what? All kinds of talk. Actually it means wailing, but here it means gossip. But it means any kind of talk. Vritha. And then what? Vritha vadan. Any kind of dialogues. Yesterday we saw there were 4 kinds of dialogues, right? What were they? Vada, samvada, and then jalpa, and then the 4th one, vitanda. Jalpa is a conversation between 2 fanatics. I told you yesterday. Yeah. Each one is not wanting to give up their own views. And neither they are wanting to listen to the other. Because if one is a fanatic, why will you listen to anyone else? You won't. And then what? Vitanda. Vitanda means I'm out to get you by contradicting everything that you say because you said it. This is Vitanda. Samvada, dialogue between teacher and student. And then Vada, a dialogue between equals. Yeah. And so here, all the talk, everyday talk, is Vritha. Vritha means of no use. Of no use for what? We'll see that, for the quest. And then Vritha Vadan Manorathan. Manorathan means all kinds of fancies. Ratha means chariot. Manas is mind. Manogata Rathan. So when a rows of chariots start to drive across the mind, yeah, whether it's chariot or Rolls Royce, any kind of fancies, desires, fancies arising in the mind, a train of fancies arriving in the mind, manoratha, manorathaha, manorathaha, rathau, manorathaha. So plural, manorathan, second case. Plural. So this is all of no use. And why is it of no use? Tyaktva, having given up all these, Brahma ekam vijneyam. There's only vijneyam, that which is to be understood, to be known. Tyaktva means having given up, ekam Brahma. Only one Brahman. Vijneyam. Vijneyam means what? To be known. Thus, is the proclamation of all the texts of Vedanta. Thus sings the drum beat of Vedanta. The drum beat talks. If you hear it very carefully, the drum talks. And that is how Panini, listening to the drum, came with the Maheshwara Sutras in the beginning. To anybody else, it was just that, a damaru carried by Shiva in the hand. Damaru is a small drum with 2 little threads and a bead at the end of the thread. Looks like a little bit like a sideways hourglass. And then you shake it and then the bead strikes either side and you can make melody. And in the olden days, they used to, not very olden days, even in the past generation, there used to be people who were blessed by Shiva who could read the talk of these drum beats. And they would go from door to door. It was a particular set of people who would do that. Yeah. And they would make prophecies. And they would go like this. And we would just hear the drum beat. We would just love these people because, something they would tell. Some of them were correct also. Some of them were, of course, just trying to make ends meet. And they would come. They would come like this. And they would say, Shiva has blessed me to understand this. And then they would know a few things about the house, perhaps through the milkman or something. There are 5 people living in this household, and and out of these 5 people, one child is sick constantly, and already, the parents of this child, they're already like, we should open the door. And they come at 5 o'clock in the morning before sunrise, they come. 5:30, 6 o'clock at best. And then sometimes the whole neighborhood would want them to come. They were very highly regarded. And so each reading would last about half an hour or 45 minutes. And they would speak in a little bit of a dialect which nobody understood. But that was perhaps the mystery of the fact that nobody understood that. But for us it would just be, but for them it meant something. They could decode that drum. And here, Narasimha Bharati is attuned to the drum beat of Vedanta. And when the drum goes like this, he is able to decode what it says. Line by line, verse by verse. Very beautiful. And so here, then, we used to call them Gudu Gudu Wala, because that Gudu 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 sound would come. Yeah. South India, very, very popular. They would tell your whole life story. They would tell everything. They would just look at your face and tell. Some gift was there. You don't know what the connection was with the drum. Maybe that was just a way of showing the people that they got this information from Bhagavan, a validation. So then here, knowing that I cannot get out of this equation. What is the equation? Knowledge is equal to freedom. Action is equal to bondage. This is the equation. Forget Tattvamasi. This is the equation for right now, on the relative level. This is the equation that we have to assimilate. Knowledge is equal to freedom. I thought somebody will say bondage. Okay. So knowledge is equal to freedom. Self-knowledge is equal to freedom. And then action is equal to what? Bondage. And we have seen how. Because the more I act, the more embroiled I am in action. And so therefore, I have to know the truth of myself. This is what it is. So therefore what? Vritha. Vritha is a very beautiful word. Yeah. Indeclinable word, which means useless. Yeah. It's so useless it doesn't even decline. And so useless. Vritha. Vritha kriya. Useless is all actions. Actions are useless? Getting up in the morning is useless? Maybe better to not get up. That's not the idea. The actions prepare one for knowledge. Therefore, I make a decision I prioritize my life to pursue those actions that are helpful in preparing me for the teaching, for the knowledge, versus those actions that will not help me. Correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then what is the actions that will not help me? What are the actions that will not help me in the knowledge? Not a rhetorical question, so I'm expecting some answers. Fear is not an action, it's an emotion. Actions. What kind of actions?
Devotion.
Devotion again is so acts of devotion. What will not help? Adharmic actions. Adharmic actions will not help if I go against what is the cosmic law of dharma. Those are the only actions that are not going to help. Cut purse kind of actions. There was one British, I think, highway robber, the first woman highway robber that was recorded. Her name is Molly, Moll for short. Yeah, and her last name, which the people had given, was Cut Purse, because that's what she did best. Yeah. Not a nice way to go down in history, right? Yeah. So, adharmic actions that go against dharma, because dharma is a manifestation of that which is the truth of myself. It is Bhagavan, it is Ishvara. So, actions that go against that are not going to help me. Correct? and then actions, and that includes all kinds of things that he is going to, talk about later. And that includes even at the level of thought, which is why Manorathan is given. So he's preparing us. Certain thoughts we cannot have a say over, correct? They are what are called unbidden thoughts. Sometimes one gets really angry. And in the anger, what does one say? I wish I could strangle that person. Yeah, that's the thought that comes out. Now, does that incur karma? Not if you don't do it. Very good answer. Correct. But does that incur karma? Just the thought at all? No. No. Because you couldn't help it. In the fit of the anger, see, everybody is kind of heaving a silent sigh of Abba, thank God. The thought has come unbidden. I wish I could strangle that person. Why is this person so frustrating? Thought just came. I didn't ask it to come. It came in the fit of the impulses of all kinds of road rolling type of anger. Where I was rolled into a chutney, like that beep beep, in that comic there is one, what is that called? Roadrunner. See this fox is all, not fox, coyote. This coyote, his name is Wiley. Yeah, he is trying to catch this roadrunner. Is roadrunner a real animal?
Yes.
It is there? Okay. It runs on the roads? Huh?
It's just really fast. That's what.
Yeah, okay. So I thought it was, I didn't know. I thought it was just made for the Does it look like that one?
Little desert bird.
Oh, okay. So this coyote is wanting to have lunch and is obsessed with this roadrunner, correct? And makes these elaborate schemes to catch this fellow. And then one time he'll have this big... he always goes to Acme Constructions. I don't know why. What is this about Acme? Acme?
He orders it.
He orders it online. He orders it online. It comes. And so this big block tied with a string, it looks very precarious, correct? And then it's got a big crane and it's hoisted in this precarious way, waiting for the roadrunner to come. And then he hears this sound, beep, beep, because that roadrunner made the sound. And then he presses the button which activates the mechanism of this big, solid concrete block landing on his lunch so that he can have instantly pressed lunch. But what happens instead? Beep, beep has gone and this thing lands on him, correct? All the time. And he's just flattened. That was the whole idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually because it doesn't work, something malfunctions.
Yeah, always there is something. In other words, he has bad karma with regard to this bird, some very bad and persistent karma. Anyhow, let's not get too far away from. So flattened by the block of anger, like this beep beep catcher, one has a thought. I wish I could strangle that idiot. That's what he thinks because he's coming out of this flattened experience all fuming and everything. I wish I could strangle. The one thought doesn't make for karma. But then along with that thought, I have another thought. Hey, that's not a bad idea. It's sounding better and better. First it used to be just discrete thoughts. One time or the other, whenever I was angry, it used to come. But you know what? This requires some deliberation. So then you think of all the ways of strangling, just like this beep beep catcher, this wily coyote sits and plans. And that is also thought, correct? Sitting and planning. Does that incur karma?
Yes.
Yes. Why? Because it is pre-meditation. Even in cases of homicide, there is a different level of punishment for something that was done out of an impulse. And then if it's a premeditated homicide, it carries with it a much more weight in the law. So therefore what? Vritha kriya. Kriya The actions that do not help me to mature for this knowledge is all britha, useless. Yeah. Meaning, any action that I do can help me as long as they are not adharmic. They will help me. But what do I have to do? I have to use those actions to gain a readiness for the knowledge. I use the actions to gain emotional maturity. How? By prioritizing the knowledge in my life. This bears repetition again and again and again. Why? Because the mind is like cotton, fluff. Yeah. Dandelion seed. Foo, everything goes. Yeah. That's why this bears repetition. I have to use any action that I do. That's not wrong. Actions don't lead to knowledge. But don't think that they are useless because they prepare me to be in the place of receiving that knowledge. They help me to gain emotional maturity. But I have to invest the actions with that power. Otherwise, they'll just be meaningless actions, disconnecting me further from my purpose in life. That is why one feels disenchanted, disconnected, and adrift. ADD. Yesterday we talked about that. I should put it the other way. Adrift, disconnected, and disenchanted. Because there is no connection why I am doing this action. That is the disconnection. That is why in the Hindu Shastra, everything is for the sake of gaining maturity to gain this teaching. Marriage is not for the sake of marriage. It is to gain maturity together. Yeah. Oh, but the other person is not cooperating. You cooperate enough. Thank them for helping you to get this far. Marriage is not an end. If it is an end, it will end. Really. Marriage is a means. Children, of course, it's very clear as soon as they, start growing up that they are the means for my growth. Why? They start by pushing every button that I did not even know I had. Yeah. They push and they prod and they, if I thought this was my threshold, they keep increasing the threshold, which is a good thing. I become more tolerant. I become more sacrificing. In DC I was talking about the Bhagavad Gita. In one class I said, somebody said marriage is a compromise. I said, no. Marriage and family life is not a compromise. It's a sacrifice. It's not a compromise. Compromise means this, I'll give some and I'll take some. Yeah. That doesn't prepare one for the knowledge. It's the letting go of the small stuff. And what is the small stuff has to keep increasing and becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. So then every stuff becomes small. I just let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. Unless it's causing himsa, problems. I have to let it go. In order to grow, I have to let go. So starting with all kinds of notions, this is how the ragadveshas get trained. You have to put them in obedience school, the likes and dislikes. Because the likes and dislikes otherwise make the person into an angular personality. And then the person feels trapped in the personality. First you take a long time to craft for oneself a personality. This is who I am. It starts with kind of teenage. Sometimes it starts at 2. Because I heard this 2-year-old child say to the mother, I will not wear that, this girl. I want to wear only this. 2 years, has a closet full of clothes and she says, I'm not going to wear this. Sometimes it starts at 2. More often you can put a 1 in front of it. It starts at teenage. May start at 12. Because the person is desperately want to carve out a way to look unique. You are already unique. You are the most significant thing, but you see the maneuvering of this self-ignorance where you want to stand out. You color your hair yellow, green, some, purple, some stark color to call attention. Then what? You start wearing clothes that have more holes than fabric. Holy jeans. First you buy the trousers and then you cut them off after coming home. They should look threadbare. Same thing with a t-shirt. Everything should look thread. Idea is to be bare, that's all. And then what? This whole attempt to clarify what this personality is and to stand out from everybody else with regard to looks, with regard to music, with regard to the food that one eats is a relentless pursuit. It's a dead-end, no-end pursuit. And at some point one understands this. One understands it doesn't matter what I wear. After one is worn out following this, after one is grown up in a certain maturity, when that maturity comes, one understands this. One begins to understand this. But I have to invite this maturity into my life. Otherwise, it's not going to come. It may come accidentally due to having a family life and children and dealing with difficulties and hardships. But that is because of some grace operating over time, is it not? Yeah? Some punya never lets go, comes. But I have to buttress that grace with my own ability to discern how to make this action count towards my inner growth. So anything that I do has to be dedicated for the pursuit of the knowledge. And the pursuit of the knowledge takes place after raga and dvesha have gone to obedience school. Yeah. It's not the dog that needs to go to the obedience school. Yeah. And even when you take dog to obedience school, they will tell you the school is not for the dog, it's for you. They will tell you that. Why? Because a dog is consistent. You are not consistent. You will say, when you're in a good mood, you say, come, sit on my lap. It's only 150 pounds, that's all, the dog. Okay? Sit in my lap. And another time you say, don't you know I'm in pain, get off. And when you're in a good mood, you're allowed on the bed, you're allowed on the couch, you're allowed even on my head. And when I'm upset, stay there, stay down, why don't you listen? So really the obedient school is for this flip-flop human being. And who is this human being? Full of angularities. Yeah, that is the first meaning of the word Purusha. The one who has crafted himself or herself a personality out of which there is no escape. Because once you say, I am this, you have to take a big ego cut to say, I am no longer this, correct? Because you have built up your whole life to say, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am this. So the whole I am this, if it is a limited orientation, what does it become? A trap, a citadel. Purau ushati purushaha. The one that is trapped lives in this tiny cage, the bars of which are each raga and dvesha become the bars. Barred by their own limited orientations, their likes and dislikes become the limited orientation for that which is limitless. Like even the space is as though bound by this part, this Brahman, in this body-mind-sense complex, as though becomes miserable, deluded by raga-dveshas. The bars of the cage. Somebody said, what was that? Some poet, a very nice poem is there. Stone walls do not a prison make, neither do the bars of the cage. So the prison is where? Here. This is the prison of my own notions, of my own likes and dislikes, of my own limitations. For the limitless, I craft a prison. And then I say, let me out, let me out. First I say, let me in, let me in, let me in. And then what? Let me out. Crazy, right? Totally crazy. This is the human condition. And therefore the Purusha, whose praises are sung in the Sukta. Sukta means It's a song of praise. Uktam, Suktam. Well said. Also the name of our newsletter. Sukta. That she is well said. And so, that which carries the Vedic truths, another meaning. So anyhow, so in the Purusha Suktam, that eulogizes the same Purusha. Is it eulogizing the same Purusha? Yes and no, but with a different, meaning. Sahasrashirsha Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapad Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva Atyatishthad Dashangulam Purusha Evedagum Sarvam Yat Bhutam Yatcha Bhavyam. Very beautiful to hear. Every head is the head of which that, the one that is in every head, Purusha, itself is headless. Head means limitation. This Purusha is not a head, it's a head. And what? Sahasrak, every eye is its eye. Sahasrapat, every foot is its foot. Vishvam avritya tishtati, that which pervades the entire waking world, that which remains pervading the whole universe, this Purusha. And then what? All that is verily here is nothing but this Purusha alone, this cosmic consciousness, this cosmic person embodied as this consciousness, this conscious entity. Who is the doer? Who is the enjoyer? Who is everything? Purusha evedakam sarvam, karta puruk, same thing. Yat bhutam, that which was before was what? Purusha. Yat bhavyam, that which is to be, is also Purusha. It is everything. And here the derivation is slightly different. Not the little trapped, let me out creature that is in the bars of Ragadvesha. But what? Sarvan Purayati iti Purusha, that which fills up everything. Without a trace, without residue. It flows like water, filling up every little pothole, everything. Whether it's deep or shallow, it just fills up everything and everybody and continues. Very beautiful. Beautiful. So therefore the human journey through the Vedanta Dindima study is what? Going from the miserable personality, growing from the miserable personality to the person who is no longer miserable. The misery is in the bars of the cage, the ragadveshas. So my actions, all the actions, whether they are laukika, means what? Secular, material, worldly actions, or Vaidika, devotional actions like puja, meditation, etc., have to be dedicated to gaining this emotional growth that will free me from this prison of ragadveshas, which is a necessary and sufficient condition for me to see and have the knowledge that I am already free. So therefore what? Vritha kriya. All actions are useless if they are not dedicated to this. You see, that's why reading doesn't help, because the reading will translate as Vritha kriya, actions are useless. Oh no, forget it, I can't remain without action, bye-bye. Just one Vritha kriya we have elaborated in 1 hour. So let us see what the next hour holds after a break of half an hour. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Yeah, we'll come back. What is the time? Oh, wonderful. We'll come back in 20 minutes. Not even half an hour. 20 minutes is enough. We'll come back in 20 minutes and we will resume. Okay, so do not go away.